Hi guys, Saint here, and I wanted to talk to you guys about how to play this patch because I think this is kind of a difficult patch to play because there's really polarizing units in the game like Syndra. I'm currently ranked 2 on the ladder, and I'm gonna kind of tell you guys how I got there and how to play around a lot of these builds. All right, so first the build we're gonna talk about is let's talk about the early game, how you start out the game. So right now, when you start out the game, you should look around very aggressively, see who's playing the different reroll builds. There's 3 popular reroll builds. There's Syndra, there's Kog'Maw, and there's Kassadin. You should try to get into one of those. Kog'Maw you want to play not really contested. You can play it 2-way contested, but prefer to play it not contested. So if you have an opener that has Kog'Maw and like Rumble and stuff like that, and you have like BF's glove, bow, things like that, then you're gonna want to look to play Kog'Maw. And then there's the Syndra build. I generally only play this if I get... you want Syndra early. You don't have to have Syndra in like stage 2, but it's definitely recommended. And if you see that you can play this build like 5-way contested. I think the main thing is just getting Syndra early and getting items on her. You want to have like... BIS is probably something like either Nashor's or Rageblade. Red buff is Gigabyss. This is probably like actual BIS. Sojin, Rageblade, red buff. Where's Sojin at? Something like this. You just want to be able to get her as many stacks as possible, and then you play 4 Vanguard frontline. And we're going to talk about how like people mess this comp up a lot, and then I'll go back into the other reroll build. Basically, you want to be playing, 4 Vanguard for your mid game. And then you want to be getting Rumble in here, and then you want to be getting Tom Kench when you can find him, but you can just play Blitzcrank until then. So here's where people mess up the comp a lot. Actually, we'll do the default positioning because a lot of people don't know how to position this build either. Where's Karmat? Okay, so things that people mess up on this build is that they don't position correctly. So Tom Kench, you want to always have in one of these slots. If I have Tom Kench here, he will stun up here in the corner. If I have Tom Kench here, I'll stun up in this corner. So positioning your Tom correctly. A lot of people will put Nami in these corners. You never want to have Nami in the corners. You want to have her in the center. Because in the center, she 95% of the time will always stun their carries. So make sure you're positioning like that. Second thing that people mess up on is you do need to roll on 3-2 to have a decent board. And that generally just means you need to have like probably 2 or 3 upgraded frontliners. That means like Rumble 2, Galio 2, and then maybe like a Blitz 2 or something like that. And then, yes, you want to have Syndra 2, but if you don't hit the Syndra 2 on 3-2, like let's say you roll down like 30 gold into like 20, let's say you roll to 20 gold and you find 0 Syndras, then you just need to stop. And you need to like AFK until 4-1 and then reassess the game. And then usually what will happen is you'll just like go level 7 and just roll for whatever on that board. It's really unfortunate if you whiff on the Syndra there, but I think the most important thing is rolling down on 3-2 is that you have a strong front line. Because even with Syndra 1, if you have ramping items like Rageblade, Red Buff, Sojin, and all that, you can usually just build up your stacks. Like you just want to be building up your stacks throughout the game, so you're like ramping. It doesn't really matter. Like Syndra 2 matters, but it doesn't matter as much as people think. And a lot of people will blow their economy up for no reason. Like most of the time I'll roll to 30 gold. Sometimes I'll roll to 20 if I have an econ augment or something like that. But most of the time I'm not tunneling the Syndra as much as people think. And then so like let's say you look around on 3-2, you roll for this build and you see that you're like multi-way contested, like 3-way contested. I will very rarely go for Syndra 3. I will probably just after I like do that stabilizing roll down, I'll probably just level to 7 on 4-1 or like go fast 8. I'll probably level to 7, roll down a little bit more to like stabilize my board more, like get Mordekaiser 2, maybe find Nami 1, something like that. And then I'll probably start pushing levels to 8 after that and play for more like Nami and Karma carrying and like build out a good front line. You can also look and see like what if your front line's contested. Like let's say some guy has a bunch of Syndras but he has no Mordekaisers. You can probably go 7 and roll for Mordekaiser 3 or something like that if you hit a lot of Mordekaisers in your roll down. Because there's like charms you can get on level 7, like small Nico charms. You can get like Mord 3. There's like a lot of like random mounts. You can go like Rumble 3. Rumble 3 is really good. Galio 3 is really good. You can also play like around like hitting Wukong frontline. There's like a Wukong Preserver version that you can play with this. There's a Shapeshifter version, but I don't really like it as much. You have to like really high roll to have specific augments. But the main takeaway I want to point out with this is don't tunnel too hard on Syndra 3 if you can't get it. I've won so many games at Syndra 2 and just like leveling and then hitting other things like Karma 2, Mord 3, things like that. Like, I think people tunnel on this Syndra thing so much, and Syndra 3 is not necessary to win the game. Okay, next comp we're going to talk about is reroll Kassadin. If you are playing, I will only play this comp uncontested. If I see anyone contesting this, I will never play this build. I think it is terrible to play contested Kassadin because it is one of the much weaker. I think it's like the weakest of the reroll builds, but if you have like the god tier augments, it can win out. I mean, the board is basically just like Shen and Hecarim. Where's Hecarim at? Hecarim. Yeah, Hecarim like this. I also see a lot of people greeting for like BIS on this. Like, this is probably BIS on Kassadin, but like BT and QSS. Where's QSS at? Yeah, QSS. But, I mean, if you have to build Hodge instead of BT, do it if you need to slam the item for tempo. Like, if you have to go Edge of Night instead of QSS, or you have to go, like, a Titans, by all means, like, go that, like... It's much better to have a 3-item Kassadin going through stage 3 than it is to sit there on, like, items where you're, you know... You have, like, 1-item Kassadin, you're just getting rail all of stage 3. Like, don't tunnel too hard on getting BIS. Like, it's really bad. And this comp is also, like, very important to have combat augments. Like... I see people will take like all these econ augments and stuff like that. If you take a bunch of econ augments on this comp, you are going to lose. You need to make sure that you're taking as like all the good combat augments like item collector, keepers, like things like that. There's a bunch of really, you can just look it up on Tactical Side Tools. There's a bunch of really good combat augments. Well, that's like the one where you strike 3 times and do damage or something like that. There's another one like that. And multi-striker +1 is really big on this comp because you don't have to find Camille to hit 7 multi-strikers, which is a massive spike. And in this build, you can either itemize Jax, Akali, or Ashe as your third carry. Basically, what you hit. Usually when I have Elastus, we're on Ashe as well. And what's the last thing about this comp? This comp, usually you want to be like moving your Kassadin around to like be positioned like this. You want to be positioned into Syndra comps or Karma comps, but you want to be away from Kog'Maw comps. Like if you see a Kog'Maw, make sure you're like on this side away from him. Otherwise, you'll just get fucked. And you want to have Shen here because it'll stun their carry. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And then the other thing you can do, so if all the reroll builds are taken, that's when the game gets hard because you're contingent on playing probably Karma or Tempo Callista. And both of those builds require you to have probably something that makes money, which means you're probably looking for like Mogul's Mail. Like if you can get any of the Mogul Mail's item or any like Pilfer, any of that kind of stuff. Basically, if you look around and you see all the reroll builds are taken, you need to make sure you take something that gives you a ton of money to get to level 8 ASAP. It's any of the Epoch, Cluttered Mine, Pilfer, like any Mogul's Mail. That you need to take something like that early to get to 8 ASAP to get your build online, and then you need to take combat augments to like fill that out. And I mean, there's a bunch of different Karma variations you can play at 8. There's like a Callista variation you can play at 8. You can even fast 9 if you're high rolling. But you need to make sure you have a fuck ton of money. Otherwise, like, you're not going to... Like, these level 8 boards are very expensive, and this Karma unit is very contested as well. And Karma is used in literally, like, 95% of the level 8 boards. So, you need as much money as possible to play these level 8 boards. Do not play level 8 boards if you don't have the money to do it. And then there's a bunch of, like, little weird augments, like, you know, +1s, like +1 Portal, +1 Eldritch. You know, there's a Flexible. There's a bunch of other stuff you can play. Like, you can just look up on Tactical Slot Tools. Look at all the things that like you can play like at the top of the chart if you have those options. But that's generally how you're going to end up playing these this particular patch until they patch it next week. But you know, I hope this helped you guys out. And you know, I'll see you guys next time. I'll probably make another one of these rundown patches videos for the next patch when the game all changes again. But hopefully this helped you guys out. Thanks for watching.